Another sitting, another protest, this time by Crown attorneys, unhappy that the government has once again blindsided a union group with surprise legislation.
Right, and what's kind of interesting about this one is, unlike previous labor disputes, this one came out of nowhere publicly. The two sides were in contract talks, they were unable to reach a deal on salaries, and so as the Crown's contractual right says they were destined to head for arbitration. The government, despite continuing to extend that effort in its most recent contract, decided they don't like that deal anymore, and so they tore up the contract. They brought in Bill 203, which removes the right to arbitration, extends the right to strike, but also makes Crowns an essential service while imposing a wage pattern on them that is lower than what the Crowns were seeking.
And what we saw last week during law amendments is the head of the Public Prosecution Service in this province, Martin Hirschhorn, state publicly that he was opposed to this bill and that the right to strike would really only exist on paper, that if any of the Crowns took the day off or decided to walk off the job, that the system here would really grind to a halt. None of the cases would go forward in a way that would be fair and equitable to both sides.
The last negotiated agreement was reached in 2016. Crown attorneys accepted the government's pattern wage offer in return for a 30-year framework agreement. 30 years. That agreement is now being violated.
Law amendments last week was really interesting because of the parade of legal experts who showed up. These weren't just people off the street. These were people with decades of institutional knowledge and practical legal expertise who said this bill will deter recruiting and retention of Crown attorneys, that this bill can in no way for 100 people set a wage pattern for 75,000 public sector workers, as the Premier has argued, and that this bill is in fact in no way charter compliant and will ultimately lose in a court challenge. And yet the Premier, in the face of all of this legal expertise, is sticking to his guns, and despite having no evidence to the contrary to present to the public, says that he thinks the government is safe with this bill.
So Mike, like healthcare workers, teachers, you'll have a group, a union group, challenging the law, perhaps all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada, and then another government, not this one, having to foot the bill for whatever mistakes this one has made.